Welcome to Speak Up and Stay Alive RadiOh with author, speaker, and your host, Pat Rouleau. Finally, someone willing and able to blow the top off hidden healthcare and hospital dangers. She's provocative, upbeat, balanced, fearless, fresh. Pat has over 20 years of experience as a professional public speaker and knows how to approach this important subject with enough humor and wit to keep you informed, entertained, and empowered. Each week you will say, "Oh," as Pat explores and exposes little-known hospital hazards, delves into the deep waters of dangerous healthcare practices, picks the brains of her good-looking and influential guests to help keep you and your family safe in today's fragmented healthcare system. The program is not intended to replace medical advice from a licensed professional, but rather to encourage you to become a well-informed participant in your health and well-being. And now, your host, Pat Rouleau.
Hello, I'm Pat Rouleau, ready once again to give you some tools and tips to help you keep you and your loved ones safe during any healthcare or hospital encounter. And before we get rolling today, I want to share a small victory. As you know, I am very concerned and active when it comes to the mandatory installation of smart meters. It has already been established that there is a huge potential for your private information to get relayed via these smart meters directly to the utility companies, the government, or any unsavory identity thief. In fact, I just read about the first refrigerator, obviously equipped with a smart chip, that breached private information to hackers. You may remember hearing Matt Lynch on this show. He is the state of Ohio representative who is pushing for a permanent smart meter opt-out with no fee. Well, finally, there will be a hearing to be held in Columbus. We don't know when just yet, but at this hearing, I will be testifying on behalf of you in an attempt to sway the opinion that these devices are safe, and we have much documentation that clearly proves otherwise. Yet, big agenda and big money want to tell us otherwise. And the reason I am telling you this today is because once we are notified of the date, it would be so helpful to all of us in the state of Ohio, and actually to everyone in the country, if you were to physically come to Columbus on that date. No, don't worry, not to speak, but simply to show our solidarity, to show our elected officials that we, the people, do not want these privacy-invading, radiation-emitting, cancer-causing meters on our homes. We do not want radiation without representation. If you want to know more, call me at 440-725-5462. I'll keep you posted on the date, time, and so on. We really do need your physical presence and all of the other bodies you can bring with you. It's actually history in the making, folks, and you can't do any better than that. Call me. Leave me a message with your name and phone number, and I will contact you with the details as I get them. So, let's get started with today's program, and it's going to be stupendous because our upcoming guest is a pharmacist who believes in the person before the pills. And that's refreshing. And I just love her energy, and I know you will too. So, hopefully you're sitting in your favorite listen to the radio seat, kick off your shoes, get comfy, turn off that darn cell phone, and be prepared for some honest conversation. Because right now, it's time for the healthcare hazard of the week.
Introducing first, from the blood red corner, weighing 205 pounds. He hails from a local hospital and was rated by many as the best doctor of the last decade. With 52 surgeries, 38 of them coming by the way of knockout, and only 4 defeats, he is Dr. Danger. And on my left in the black and blue corner, weighing in at a mere 105 pounds, the tiny, fragile, sick, weak, and very frightened patient, no speak. Let's get ready to rumble!
Today's hazard is not the traditional warning of bacteria, wrong site surgeries, misdiagnosis, and such, but rather is merely an observation from the ring. Recently, I was honored with the ability to talk one-on-one with a very well-known, highly respected doctor, a doctor with articles, books, and awards to his name. I took the opportunity to ask him questions about patient safety, the patient experience, and patient involvement. And if you know me, I always speak from a place of respect, never leaving the interviewee feeling threatened or challenged. However, with each question I asked, this fine doctor replied as if searching for some handy boxing gloves, as if I were the opposition, me versus him, us versus them. And when I finally asked him, or rather I stated, the patient needs to take some responsibility for their outcome, suggesting that an informed patient tends to be a safer patient, he interrupted me and said, "No, that's asking too much of the patient. They shouldn't be burdened with this." Sensing that he was anticipating a fight, I let it go. Had I been inclined to throw a few delicate punches, I might have asked, "Why? Does that create more work for you? Is an inquisitive patient an annoying patient? Does an informed patient cause you to rethink your usual routine? Or do you really feel that a patient doesn't have the wherewithal and capacity to understand?" Well, my next question was about the patient experience, and he admitted that the patient experience is what the patient says and thinks that it is, not what the doctor or hospital defines as the patient experience, but solely lies within the patient's perception. Well, I couldn't agree more. So I pushed a bit and asked, so given the fact that every patient enters the healthcare world with their own set of expectations and experiences, wouldn't it be helpful to actually ask the patient at the beginning of his or her journey, how do you define the patient experience? What has to happen to allow you to leave here saying, yes, that was a good patient experience? Not a bizarre thought, is it? I mean, if you want to know what I think, ask me. His reply, that's not a good idea. Doctors don't have time for this. We are already burdened by too much to do. We don't have an extra 5 minutes per patient to find out. Whoa. So I wonder, on one hand, he says that the patient experience is what the patient says it is, yet there is no time to find out from the patient what the patient says it is? So my observation is that this doctor, and I'm afraid many more like him, are so wrapped up in their clinical world, wearing their mental boxing gloves, thinking and acting in terms of them against us, and like our conversation, me against him, that the attempt to move patient safety, patient involvement, and the patient experience are relegated to remain in the boxing ring. So I say to you, don't let that happen to you. You should be informed. You should be involved. And you should be able to tell your provider right up front what it is that you expect. Do you want all of the facts and figures and details during a hospital stay? Make that known on day one. Do you not want to know those things? Will that make for a better experience? If so, speak up. Are you concerned about acquiring an infection in the hospital? Tell them that. Ask for everyone to wash their hands before touching you so you don't have to ask or be fearful every time someone enters the room. Make your definition known the minute you enter the hospital, and heck, even at every doctor's appointment. Don't know what you think? Well, then think about it ahead of time. What does the patient experience mean to you? Let's step out of the boxing ring and meet our providers up front like professional, intelligent people that we are outside of a hospital setting. What is it that you need to make for a positive knockout patient experience? Put up your dukes and speak up. No jabs, no hooks, no punches. And with that, let's hear some legal news you can use. Let's spend the next 2 minutes with our friends at Schrath & King. They always have the answers. Pat, young gal sent this. I am a young person in good health. Do I really need to create a formal advance directive?
The fact is that most of the law in this area developed around younger people in auto accidents who had very serious injuries. So everyone 18 and over should have a health care directive so that they have named in healthcare power of attorney, the person they want to make decisions for them. They should consider whether they wish to have a living will declaration and whether the time is right to do that. And they should consider who will receive their private medical information, so a privacy release. So anyone over 18 years of age.
Oh, Pat, thanks for taking the time to help us today. And if our listeners need more information, where can they find you?
Well, they can reach us at 440-585-1600 or at our website at www.shrafking.com or with general inquiries at info@shrafking.com.
Well, thanks for helping us today, Pat. We appreciate your wisdom.
You're welcome.
If you have not taken care of your advance directives, get it done today. Schraff & King. They're conveniently located on Som Center Road in Willoughby Hills, just south of Route 6. Or you can always visit them online at schraffking.com.
We were surprised when Dad brought up hospice care. I thought you called when you were all out of options, but Hospice of the Western Reserve has been helping care for Dad for some time now. I'm so glad we called when we did. Their support has given us quality time I'll remember forever.
With Hospice of the Western Reserve, you can choose when, where, and how you receive care. Discover why the hospice of choice is Hospice of the Western Reserve at hospiceofchoice.org.
You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio. I am your hostess, Pat Rouleau, and today I am thrilled to have a pharmacist in the studio. This is a first for us. She is Mary Sheehan. Let me tell you a bit about this new friend of mine. Mary graduated from Duquesne University School of Pharmacy with honors and has been a practicing pharmacist for over 20 years, working in large teaching hospitals, small community hospitals, compounding pharmacies, home infusion pharmacies, and currently works in retail pharmacy. Mary has also spent decades studying alternative medicine, spirituality, and mind development in the hopes of understanding what true health really was from all standpoints, mind, body, and spirit. Mary has educated the public and other healthcare professionals about this very popular topic. She hosted and produced a cable television show called Good Medicine that allowed people to see other avenues of healing that they may not have known. She also appeared on local Channel 3's Can You Relate with Kathy Dawson and Golden Opportunities as a contributing health expert. Today, with her new business, Prescriptions for Happiness, instead of dispensing pills, she dispenses advice to help people solve life's most vexing relationship and communication problems. It's about being a leader in your own life, and that she is. And I am so happy to have her here in the studio with us today. Welcome to the show, Mary.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
Oh, thanks. Well, Mary, tell us, as a practicing pharmacist, what caused you to make the connection between communication and it being about the person and not the pill?
Well, working behind the counter in a busy pharmacy, I have about 30 seconds to read my clients, and that means they have to instantly trust me and tell me what's really going on. Often, I would see that they had issues that were not so much about their pill as they were about the person. In other words, sometimes, not always, but sometimes, people are trying to solve a problem with a pill that can't be solved that way. For example, taking an antidepressant because you hate your job, not because you have a diagnosis of clinical depression. What was even more troubling is that over time, what I saw was that when people rely too much on quick fixes like pills to solve problems, they actually got sicker. So I find really I tend to do more good for people when I'm dispensing advice rather than pills. And that's more of what I do now as a coach and a consultant.
Prescriptions for Happiness.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks.
Well, now you have quite a story that changed your life. You were literally hit by a truck.
Yeah.
Now, if that doesn't cause a person to reevaluate their thoughts and their goals, I don't know what would. So can you tell us about that time in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. It was about 3 years ago, and I was driving to work on one of those lovely winter days we have in Northeast Ohio where things can change very quickly. And things looked pretty good on the highway. And then all of a sudden, I could see there was a lot of snow and there were cars all over the place. And it just happened like out of the blue. And my last thought was, oh my gosh, I have to get off this highway. And the next thing I knew, I was looking at my bloody face in the rearview mirror. And I looked around. My car looked like a bomb had gone off in it. So things got very interesting for me in the emergency room. I was in a lot of pain. I was scared practically out of my mind. There was this x-ray technician, and I spent a lot of time in x-ray because I was pretty beat up, and he was rushing me and really being quite forceful, like, you need to get from the gurney to the table, and can you move faster? And he wouldn't even look at me, and I felt so much pressure and I'm in so much pain that, to please this man. And at one point, he actually started to even complain about his job. Like how hard he works and for how little money. And I'm thinking to myself, am I supposed to comfort him? Am I supposed to help him? So I literally would have crawled out into the parking lot, into the snow, just to get away from this guy. In contrast, there was this lovely emergency room doctor who looked me right in the eyes, not in a threatening way, but in a very connecting way. And it was like the first time I ever had an experience of this idea of the eyes or the window to the soul. Like it wasn't a romantic kind of love. It was just this kind of loving connection. It was so wonderful. And I think that was what got me through from that whole experience in the emergency room, from totally losing my mind. And what the take home for me was that I could no longer kind of dismiss or take for granted my impact as a healthcare provider and a coach and a consultant with people. I couldn't ignore how much an impact I had. And I really had this different, deeper kind of understanding about how much we can impact somebody in a positive and a negative way. So it made me a better pharmacist, a better coach, a better everything, really.
You're on the receiving end of that. And as you're telling that story, I knew you and I connected immediately as soon as we spoke within the first 30 seconds. On many levels, your story resonates with something that happened to me where I wasn't hit by a truck. I slid on the ice in the great northern Ohio winter many years ago, and the car slid underneath a parked semi and just was totaled. And I had that little mini loving relationship with somebody who I've never ever seen ever again, but I still see his face.
Yes.
He stopped, got into my smashed up little car and applied a tourniquet to my arm. And we had that moment where we looked at each other, and I will always remember that man's eyes.
Yes. Yeah. And I have those kinds of moments with people. I try to put myself in that space. I love how you describe it. Like if I'm with a client, I try to get myself into that space where we're just all connected and I'm no judgment, just one person trying to help another person. It's such a beautiful place, isn't it?
It is. And out of such a horrible accident, we both come away with that. And,
yes.
And now you know what it's like to pass that feeling on to somebody else.
Yes, I do. And, I do know how it is to kind of struggle with, I think, what a lot of people are struggling with. And you brought it up and said it so well about trying to get from sickness to wellness and being in that in-between place.
Right.
And I definitely had that experience afterward where there was this big part of me that wanted to kind of be the victim. My lawyer certainly wanted me to be the victim. My doctors wanted me to be the victim. And it's I could stay home. I don't have to work anymore. People could take care of me. Maybe there's something to this. But on the other side, I really did want my life back. I wanted to be whole again, mind, body, and spirit. So I had to make some really tough choices. I had to stand up to my doctors and say, I won't do this because it's not in alignment with who I am. And, before that, I think when the people would come into the pharmacy and I'd say, well, you need to tell your doctor that this drug is making you not feel so good. And they would kind of shut down. Now I know why, because just like I was afraid to disappoint them or didn't want the doctor to be mad at me. Now I know how that feels to be so vulnerable and so scared that you'll do anything, even if it's not really what's right for you. So at that point in my life, I really needed someone for those couple months to give me the perspective and the words to use to keep me on the straight and narrow on my path to wellness. And that's kind of what I offer people now, is that support and perspective and words to use to keep them in alignment with getting where they want to be, which hopefully is toward wellness.
Wellness, right.
Yeah.
And you said a very interesting word. You said victim.
Yes.
Many, folks seem to be more comfortable sometimes being a victim rather than creating their own health and wellness. So do you find that your clients are like that too, kind of stuck between sickness and wellness?
Yes, exactly. We can tell the one about the woman who was taking a lot of pills and it was really not about what she was putting in her mouth. It was what was coming out of her mouth. So And it's because really the bottom line to that story, I think, is because she really wanted to become a victim. So this was a woman I know who she gave herself this diagnosis of having an anxiety disorder, even though it wasn't verified with a physician. But the bottom line was she was feeling a lot of anxiety, which a lot of people do. She was constantly at a lack of inner peace. She would call doctors and healers and naturopaths and homeopaths and any kind of path that you can imagine with the intention of, oh, just make my pain go away. And what I could see was what the real problem was that she was not telling every provider the whole truth. But more importantly, she wasn't telling herself the whole truth, which was that although she recovered from a really horrific disease and everyone said, you're well, she still didn't want to be well. There was a part of her that really wanted to be ill. And I would say to her, a well person doesn't take medicine they don't need. They don't have procedures they don't need. They don't constantly talk about being sick. But there's just such a drive, I think. And I think a lot of times, too, people just kind of get into that habit.
Yes.
And they're not really seeing clearly how they're in their own way. So her anxiety was really self-created, and that she was living this kind of dualistic, she was in constant conflict of, oh, I want to be sick, but I want to be well. And who wouldn't be anxious having that kind of conflict?
Absolutely. A lot of times that mental chatter that goes on in your mind actually brings about the reality.
And then you get carried away.
Exactly.
Totally carried away.
Yep. Well, I know many people use pills to solve problems that have little to do with the actual disease or thoroughly considered diagnosis. For example, the use of antidepressants is staggering, and most of the diagnosing, if you want to call it that, is done in a few minutes in your primary care physician's office. And there you go. You've got a prescription for Zoloft. So what are your thoughts about this?
Well, and I think you and I would both agree that there's definitely a place. So we're not talking about the properly prescribed and antidepressants. But what I've seen in 22 years is that people are trying to use these things to solve another kind of problem. So I was filling it at the store one day, and a woman came in, and even though I was far away from her at the computer and she was at the counter, I could kind of really feel how heavy she was with emotion. So as I'm filling her prescription, I'm noticing, oh my gosh, this is the 4th antidepressant that I'm now going to fill. So I'm getting a little bit nervous about that. So I go take my little self over to the counter, and I said, is one of these going to replace this one that I'm filling now, going to replace one or more of your other prescriptions? And she said, no, my doctor says that I need all of them. And I said, well, why? Why do you need all these pills? And she said she was having a really hard time, and I could tell then she was holding back tears. And I could practically feel the grief coming off of her, so I said, I'm going for it. I said, are you grieving? And then she started to cry, and she said, yes, I lost my job. Not a job even, the business that she loved. And I said, grief is not a disease. It's a natural process we go through when we lose something we love. And if you're using a pill to treat grief, you're in the wrong arena, totally. And her boyfriend was like, yeah, see, I told you. And then because I really understood where she was coming from, she did confess that she hadn't even told her doctor. I don't know if there was no time or whatever, but she promised me that she would have an honest discussion about that. And, that's someone I would have loved to have, not behind the counter, but, as a client, a half hour to find your power.
Absolutely.
Right? Let's really look at this. Let's look at this grief and look at what the steps that you can take to solve this.
Ooh, a half hour to find your power.
Yeah, that's what
I was just going to write that.
I know, isn't that great?
My pen.
Yes, there's so many people that I see in the pharmacy that I'm like, oh, I just wish I could get you on the phone for a half hour. We could find this solution. I know we could.
But through your consulting, your coaching, people can call you, and
they can call me, and they can book a half hour and find their power.
Find their power.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I'm going to say that. Well, yeah, many people really think consciously or unconsciously then that pills will solve their problems. But the point is that drugs don't solve the problems. People can solve their problems with some perspective and words, which is what you offer, Prescription for Happiness.
Right. Not about the pill, about the person.
About the person. You have that innate ability. I can sense that.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad it's being sent out there.
It is being sent out
there.
Good. Wow, so much to talk about. Mary, where can we find out more about you, what you do, and how can our folks contact you?
All right. Well, first thing, you can go to my website, prescriptions, that's plural, prescriptionsforhappiness.com. And if you put in your email address, you can get my free happiness report. It's called Pep Pills, Fast-Acting Jolts of Joy for Quick Life Fixes. You can also call me at 330-592-5600. 5793 to schedule a half hour to find your power session if you are struggling with some vexing problem. So there's 2 ways.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. Do you have any final words of advice for us today?
I do.
Okay.
And here they are.
All right.
You have more power to change your life than you think you do. Don't be afraid to own your power. And if you don't know how to do that, that's what I'm here for.
Excellent. Mary, what a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you. It was great fun.
And folks, Mary will be joining the show each week with a short vignette that you don't want to miss. So you'll be hearing more from her. And stay put, we've got a whole lot more coming up on Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio. Yeah?
Yeah, it was awesome.
You're awesome.
She's awesome. Isn't she awesome?
Are you looking for a relaxing and rejuvenating spa experience? Well, I found the perfect place. Listen as I spend the next 2 minutes with Lisa Stewart, owner of Solia Spa in Brecksville, Ohio. She has the experience and knows how to exceed your expectations. So Lisa, tell us about your skincare products and why you suggest that we use them.
Well, we have 2 lines. One is SkinCeuticals. It's a very clinical line, so that's amazing for problems of rosacea skin, psoriasis, eczema, acne. It's very result-driven. The ingredients are higher concentrated, so you have to be licensed to sell SkinCeuticals. It's fantastic. And then we also have, and SkinCeuticals is made in Texas, and then we have our other line is Talgo, and they're made in France, and that line is all seaweed-based. And seaweed is fantastic. That seaweed is the closest substance to our own plasma, so it's very healing and regenerating to our body. And if you think about it, the Japanese eat so much seaweed, that's why they look so young. Mm-hmm. So it is fantastic.
So if someone stops in to visit your Solia Spa, you'll work with them to help them understand which skincare product would be best for them.
Absolutely. And we always give samples out to our clients, always, so they can try it first.
Excellent. So tell us where you're located, where we can find you.
We are located in Brecksville. Our address is 6909 Royalton Road in Brecksville, Ohio. And the website is soliaspa.com. Phone number is 440-526-0522.
Lisa, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. Thank
Great
you
being
so
here.
much.
Thank you.
Relax and rejuvenate your body and spirit at the luxurious Solia Spa. Choose from a variety of massages, body scrubs and wraps, skincare, makeup, and nail care. Their professional staff is trained to help you select appropriate services and provide impeccable personalized service for an experience that exceeds your expectations. Located at 6909 Royalton Road, Brecksville, Ohio. Or call them 440-526-0522. And be sure to visit their website, soliaspa.com.
Know you've been a good friend, and that's through the thick and thin, and I know it's never gonna end.
Everyone selects in-home care for different reasons. The keys are to recognize when to introduce care and how to select the right care provider. Let's spend the next 2 minutes with my friend, Bonnie Warren from Comfort Keepers. She knows how to help us make the right decisions. So Bonnie, what questions should we consider that can help make the decision on whether it's time to consider in-home care?
I would take a look at your loved one and think about, have they been falling? Have they been expressing fear about being alone? Are they bathing on a regular basis? You know, maybe it's not so much that they don't like to bathe anymore. Maybe it's a case of they're fearful of getting into the shower when they're in the house by themselves. Are they eating properly? Nutrition and hydration are 2 of the biggest things that we run into that elders forget. They just simply forget to do it. And so to have somebody coming into the home on a regular basis, just to be a companion and remind them about bathing and eating and taking their meds on time and keeping hydrated. Those are all extremely valuable tools to have in-home care for.
Well, thanks for taking the time to share your wisdom with us today, Bonnie.
And thank you for having us.
I encourage you to call my friend right here in the Cleveland area, Bonnie Warren. For more information or to schedule a free in-home consultation, call 440-721-0100 or toll free 866-942-1960. And be sure to let them know that I sent you.
'Cause you've been a good friend,
Here we go, Eric.
Bob, you better amp up the enthusiasm.
Let's get it going, girl.
Amp it up, Bobby. Guys are so fun. All right. Ready? Okay.
Let's go.
All right.
As ready as I'll ever be.
You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio. We are also on the XDS Cumulus satellite for every other radio station in the country to pick up. So if you have friends or family who live in another city or state and would like for them to hear this show, tell them to contact their local program director, and they can very easily pick up the show and add it to their current lineup. I am your hostess, Pat Rouleau, so happy to spend this time with you to help you survive any healthcare or hospital encounter. All right, guys, are you ready once again to play the most requested radio game of all time?
Go for it.
Let's do it.
All right. And what is the game, Bob?
Shocking news from around the world.
So let's introduce our characters. Contestants. Who do we have today?
I'm Eric. I'm a regionally famous radio producer from Northeast Ohio.
Yay, we love you.
And I'm me,
Who are you?
Bob from Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
All right, Bob, let's get going because I could tell you're antsy. Drink that coffee, baby. All right, here's how it goes. I will read a health-related statement of sorts, and you guys have to decide if it's true, as we call it a shock.
Wow.
Or is it false? We call it a crock.
Oh.
You ready?
Go.
All right. Here's the Speak Up and Stay Alive shocking news number 1. People with positive initials, ones that spell out things like J-O-Y or W-O-W, like William Otis Wadsworth, live nearly 4.5 years longer than people with neutral initials. Is that a shock or is it a crock?
I'm going to say it's a shock just because it just sounds like a shock. Thinking about it, it's a shock.
What do you think, Eric?
Wait a minute. 4.5 years, did you say?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. That just seems like more of an effect than that should have, thinking logically. So I'll say crock.
All right. You should never think logically because it is a shock.
Wow.
It must be the constant subliminal suggestion factor. And statistics, I can't talk. And statistics show that, for example, say a David Ulysses Davenport. What's his initials?
Dud.
Yep. Or what about this one? Alexis Susan Smith.
Oh, can we say that on the air?
You say that on the air. All right. If you have those kind of initials, you live nearly 3 years less.
Wow.
Yeah. Other initials that may shorten your life are ILL, DED. Are we all safe here? Does your initials spell anything weird, Eric?
No, mine are neutral.
Okay, mine are too. Good. We're all right. All right, folks. This was very informative. Here's the Speak Up and Stay Alive shocking news number 2. After analyzing 51 public restrooms, experts found that the stall the farthest away from the restroom door consistently had the lowest bacterial levels and the most toilet paper. Is that a shock or is it a crock?
That is a crock. I think the one that would be the least would be the first stall on the right.
I'm going to say crock for a different reason. I've heard it's the one in the middle that has the least.
Okay, you're both right. It is a crock.
Oh.
And it is the first stall.
Oh.
No one wants to take that one. The first stall probably sees less traffic because it's near the door and people want privacy. And here's a tip. When you're finished, stand before you flush. You guys don't have to worry about that because you're already standing. But ladies, when toilets are flushed, a fine mist of water containing contagious bacteria sprays up, and you can catch intestinal bugs and hepatitis from it.
That's scary.
Wow.
All right, stand up when you flush. That's the takeaway.
It's called standing flush.
I bet some people don't flush.
I've seen that too.
So I think we all have. Oh my gosh, here's the Speak Up and Stay Alive shocking news number 3. Research suggests there's a marked difference between how younger and older people interpret misplacing their car keys. A young guy usually blames it on someone else and says, "Who took my darn keys?" And an old man typically blames it on himself. "I must be getting old. I misplaced my keys again." Is there a difference as to if you're going to feel younger or older based on that? Is that a shock or is that a crock?
I'm going to say it's a shock. I feel that way sometimes.
I'm going to say shock, but I would say that in my personal experience, it's different because anytime I've misplaced my keys, even though I'm not that old, I've been like, oh, I must be having a senior moment.
Well, don't do that because this is a shock. The moral of the story is never use your age as an excuse for anything like this. Wow. And because it feeds your mind those
Bad
thoughts.
energy.
Yeah. And see if you don't remain younger longer. It's an effective mental trick.
All right, I'm going to blame everyone blame everyone but myself whenever I make a mistake like that.
Exactly. Blame the naked mole rat plushie in your home, right?
You got it.
Oh gosh. Okay. Then they'll call you crazy. Here's the Speak Up and Stay Alive shocking news number 4. For itchy skin under a cast, try scratching the same place on the other arm or foot. This may trick your brain into thinking you're scratching the real itch. Is that a shock or is it a crock?
I'm trying to remember what little bit of neurology I know.
It's not coming back, is it?
All right, I'll just say a crock.
I'm going to say it's shocking.
Yeah?
I'm going to say it's shock.
You're right. It's true. It is a shock. Wow. Scratch the corresponding spot on the opposite limb. Nerves on one side of the body run up the other side of the spine, and somehow it tricks the brain.
Oh, well, my brain needs tricking.
I think your brain is tricked.
My brain is tricked.
Have any itches, Eric?
Thankfully, no.
All right, good.
And no casts either.
All right, well, then that makes a difference. You guys, Speak Up and Stay Alive shocking news number 5. To quickly bring down a fever over 102 degrees, put an ice pack under your arm or near your groin. Is that a shock or is it a crock?
It'd be a little cold in the groin area, Eric. I'm going to say a shock.
I'm just wondering, this isn't just like this actually reduces the fever. It doesn't just artificially lower the temperature on the thermometer.
No.
You're trying to trick the brain again, Eric.
Okay, I'll just say shock.
All right, it is a shock, guys. Wow. Icing either spot will cool your body's core. Now, it's uncomfortable.
I could say it would be.
But it works fast. And then see your doctor. Now, this kind of reminds me of someone I know who used icy hot for a sore neck, forgot to wash their hands.
Yeah, that was me. You don't have to say any more. And guess what I scratched? And guess what I burnt? She would have to bring that up. You would have to bring that up, wouldn't you?
You finished it, and I wasn't going to say it was you.
You knew it was.
And now, so does everyone else.
Okay. So
I didn't know. I wouldn't have known.
See, Bob?
Well, that's what happens.
Told on yourself.
Jerry, don't get excited.
Oh, gosh. All right, you guys, this is the final shocking news.
You got another one?
My last one, baby. To lower your risk of heart attack and stroke, get a dog. Numerous studies show that petting a dog keeps blood pressure under control when you're stressed. Is that a shock or is it a crock?
I'm going to say it's a shock. I think you need a pet. I think it's a shock because I think a pet does bring it down. It takes care of the stress.
Yeah, I think I've heard about something like this with like pets in general. So I'll say shock.
Okay, you're right. It is true. It's a shock. Wow. But I wonder, does it have to be a dog?
It could be a cat.
Could be a cat.
Yeah, I'm more of a cat person.
Yeah.
We need to have Eric come down and see our new cat.
Or could it be perhaps be
a bird? What? The
na-
mole rat.
The naked mole rat?
Naked mole rat.
Yeah.
Eric, you're gonna have to bring your naked mole rat plushie to work. You think we can all pet the?
It's not going to feel like the way an actual naked mole rat would, though. It's not made out of skin.
Oh.
Which is a good thing.
I think it is a good thing. Oh gosh, you guys, you're so fun, you guys.
Thank you for having me here.
Well, we learned about positive and negative initials, bathroom stalls and toilet spray, using your age as an excuse, itchy skin, ice packs and groins, and petting a naked mole rat plushie to avoid a stroke.
Naked mole rat!
You did good.
Where else will you find this conglomeration of useful information? So, not to repeat myself, but to see if there is possibly another answer. Once again, I ask, on what other patient safety radio show will you find this kind of helpful and wise advice?
What other patient safety radio show is there?
There's not.
There isn't. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. And folks, stay with us. There's more to come on everyone's favorite radio program, Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio.
You did good.
And that's a wrap, Eric.
All right.
When it comes to chiropractic care, many people shy away and have anxiety about having their body contorted or their necks twisted. At Roediger Chiropractic, you can relax. Dr. Roediger uses a gentle, low-force chiropractic tool known as the activator to make adjustments along the spine. Listen as I spend the next 2 minutes with my friend, Dr. Tad Roediger. He's quick, easy, and painless. So, Dr. Roediger, how is the activator method different from the common manual adjustments that include the bone-popping snap, crackle, and pop?
I get that question all the time, and I did manual adjusting for 10 years, and I'm very good at it. When I came up here to Chardon and opened my own practice, I picked up the activator technique. The activator is a handheld device that gives a controlled bump into the joint. It has some different settings for different pressures. But it is actually a manual device. It actually manually moves the bones, but it works more on speed than on power. More importantly, with the activator method is the way of assessing the patient, doing different tests each time the patient's in to see which vertebrae need to be adjusted, which direction they need to be adjusted, and which vertebrae don't need to be adjusted. If you've never thought about having chiropractic care, try it. Or get checked at least to see if it might be something that might benefit you. You never know what medical ailment it might help.
I encourage you to visit Dr. Roediger for a consultation. Call him for an appointment at 440-285-0756. Dr. Roediger is located in Chardon, Ohio at the Village Station, 401 South Street, just 1/2 mile south of downtown Chardon off of Route 44. Or you can always call him at 440-285-0576. Is your home stressing you out? Are your appliances and gadgets damaging your health? Are you concerned that modern technology could be ruining your and your family's health? Scientific evidence suggests that everyday, chronic, low-intensity magnetic field exposure poses a possible health risk. Therefore, the conclusion is that magnetic fields remain classified as possibly carcinogenic, meaning they can cause cancer. And what about the radiation levels from wireless computers, routers, cordless phones, baby monitors? I know I've experienced disrupted sleep, grinding teeth, headaches, and waking up tired and didn't know why. Others I know experience hyperactivity, concentration and memory problems, muscle and joint pains, cardiac palpitations, fatigue, irritability, and erratic high blood pressure. And after multiple visits to doctors, still could not get an accurate diagnosis. Finally, I asked myself, could all of these symptoms be caused by invisible hazards? There is a growing body of research that shows that today's ubiquitous technology can be damaging to our health. So I had someone come to my home with highly sensitive measuring devices to measure the levels of electric frequencies, magnetic frequencies, radiation frequencies, and dirty electricity within my home. Oh my, was I ever shocked! Things like cell phones, routers, chargers, power strips, smart meters, dimmer switches, and on filled my supposed sanctuary with invisible yet damaging health hazards. Once I removed these hazards from my home, I slowly began to feel better. So I'm suggesting that you too have a healthy home consultation to identify problem areas in your home. The folks at Healthy Home will test the EMF levels in your home using small, specialized equipment, focusing particularly on areas of the home where you spend most time. And then we'll make recommendations about how you can reduce your exposure and minimize the effects on your health. The home consultation includes full measurements of electromagnetic fields within every room in your home. It takes about an hour, and you will be given a comprehensive report that includes full recommendations on how to reduce the negative impacts of EMFs and turn your home into a healthy, healing, and safe environment. And for a limited time, I'll even come out with them to meet you and help explain the findings. Call me and I'll pass on the information. 440-725-5462. Don't feel like this. When you can feel like this. Schedule a healthy home consultation today, and I'll come too to meet you and share what I know about healthy homes. Call 440-725-5462. That's 440-725-5462. And remember, a healthy home is a happy home. Well, today we talked about why it's a good idea to think about what you want from every doctor or hospital visit. What is it that's important to you? Are you concerned about infections? Would you feel safer having a daily list of your medications given to you or your advocate every morning? Are you a chatty person who welcomes lots of talking and interaction? Or would you rather be left alone? Make a list of what you need to have a positive patient experience and then share that with your providers at the very first meeting so that they know how to help you achieve your desired outcome. The relationship should not take place in a boxing ring. It's not us against them, but rather human beings coming together to create a safe and healthy outcome. And speaking of outcomes, our lovely guest and everyone's favorite pharmacist, Mary Sheehan, talked about her prescriptions for happiness and how she can spend a half hour to find your power. So if you're feeling stuck in a relationship, have problems with children, coworkers, parents, spouses, or even your own self, give Mary a call at 330-592-5793 or visit her website, prescriptionsforhappiness.com. Sometimes all it takes is a trained friend to speak to you for a while. Give her a call, 330-592-5793. Now, if you missed some of today's show, that's not a good thing. But we do make it easy for you to hear it again. Simply go to the radio link at the speakupandstayalive.com website, click the link with today's date, and that's where you can also purchase my book, Speak Up and Stay Alive, The Patient Advocate Hospital Survival Guide. And as a reminder, if you have a group or a club looking for an exciting speaker and a topic, that's me. We can address patient safety, healthcare and hospital issues, or the wireless connection as you heard about last week. Well, I can guarantee you that your crowd will love it. And you can also find audience comments and pictures at the bulletin board link at the speakupandstayalive.com website. Or you can always call me, 440-725-5462. And let me take a moment to thank all of our radio sponsors and weekly guest experts, because thanks to them, we are here, and that helps keep you and me safe. And our family of sponsors is growing. And if you'd like to join us, give me a call. Let me know. We have Schraff & King, attorneys for all of your advanced planning needs in Willoughby Hills, Ohio. Dr. Tad Roediger of Roediger Chiropractic, Hospice of the Western Reserve. Jack and Bonnie Warren of Comfort Keepers. Junction Auto Family in beautiful Chardon, Ohio. Hari Khalsa, the Healthcare Whisperer. Mary Sheehan, Prescriptions for Happiness. And Lisa Stewart from Solia Spa in Brecksville, Ohio. I really encourage you to support these fine folks because they support us, and you can find their information at the speakupandstayalive.com website. And speaking of sponsors, next week our guest is one of our newest sponsors, Lisa Stewart of Solia Spa, and she will explain the healthy benefits to massage, facials, and I wish I had a massage right now. So tell your friends, mark your calendars, and set your alarms for next week. Same time, same place, but not the same information. We always have new and exciting tips and tools to share with you, or you can always listen live via the internet. Check the speakupandstayalive.com website to find out how. Start your week with an O. Speak Up and Stay Alive, radio. And until next week, I hope you have a healthy and a happy week. I am Pat Rouleau, and I am your guide to safe and successful healthcare and hospital encounters.
The information provided in today's broadcast is for informational purposes only and was not intended for use as diagnosis or treatment of a health problem and should not be considered as medical advice. If you've missed part of today's show or just want to share the information with friends, you can listen to all of Pat's previous shows at speakupandstayalive.com. Want even more information? Purchase a copy of Pat's book at speakupandstayalive.com. Once again, it's speakupandstayalive.com. Or you can call Pat at 440-725-5462. Until next week, remember, it's okay to ask others to wash their hands. You have to speak up and stay alive.
I'm Jerry the Germ with a Speak Up and Stay Alive healthcare and hospital safety snippet just for you. Here's our expert, Pat Rouleau.
Hey, Jerry. Healthcare costs are high enough without adding you to the mix. A hospital stay can affect not only the patient, but the patient's employer. Why? Because of reduced work performance and lost productivity, not to mention increased costs. So what can be done? Invite me to speak. I offer employees a fun way to understand healthcare and hospital dangers so they know how to get out of the hospital faster, how to avoid hazards such as secondary infections or drug side effects that prolong hospital stays, and I'll uncover secret germy hiding places at work. The evidence shows my health and productivity programs make a real dollar and cents difference to an organization's bottom line. Sorry, Jerry, but you've got to go.
Stay safe. Listen to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. Tune in every Saturday morning. For more information, go to speakupandstayalive.com.